Going from like Howl's Moving Castle to like Demon Smut. I don't know what went wrong. Hi everyone, slightly different setup today. I don't know why. I put this little fantasy background on. I don't know what I'm doing. I just didn't want to sit there. Honestly, I don't want to fold my laundry, so I'm not sitting over in my usual spot. We are going to be talking about some cozy fantasy reads. I think I've seen a couple videos of this type floating around booktube, and I think it's because all of us read Legends and Lattes like around the same time, and I feel like so many people loved how that book made us feel, and we're just searching for more of that kind. So this is heavily inspired by my reading of Legends and Lattes, which, fun fact, was voted to be our next book club book. So if you would like to read it and discuss it with people, you can. I will post our Discord link down below. And yeah, it's like super cozy. Well, I'll tell you about it. I'll tell you about it later. I have a cute little list that I'm excited to share with you. I have some honorable mentions that are like not quite cozy, but I still think you'd like them. And is that it for my disclaimers? Also, just hello. How are you? I hope you're doing well. I'm going to start off, just to get it out of the way, with one of my favorites, one of my books that I just reread all the time whenever I'm in a reading slump. And it is, of course, Howl's Moving Castle by Diana Wynne Jones. And before, I see you going for the comment section. Yes, Diana Wynne Jones actually wrote many other books, and I believe it's a trilogy of like 3 books that are set kind of in the same world. They aren't necessarily tied together, but you should absolutely read those as well. What are they called again? I know it's Castle in the Air, but the other one is like something about a door. Gosh darn it, guys. House of Many Ways. I think I read that as House of Many Doors. Anyway, highly recommend all of the books that she writes. The thing with Howl's Moving Castle is it's different from the movie. I think that most people love the Miyazaki film, which was my first experience with this story. It's actually quite different. The curse is very different. Even the roles of her sisters, Michael is much older. And honestly, Howl is a little bit more annoying. I think that because I have the Miyazaki Howl in my mind, it made Howl, because I knew how it would end, I gave Howl a lot of slack, but he's like real annoying in this book. But it's still just so whimsical and magical and such a fairy tale and so adorable, and I just really love it. So I highly recommend anything by Diana Wynne Jones, but if you love the film and you haven't read the book, I think you should give it a try. I think having that, like the Miyazaki in your mind going into this will make it even better. Gotta start off with a fan fave, Howl's Moving Castle. I will also, along this line, throw in Ella Enchanted, which is also a beloved film, I think, of like my generation. It was a book first, and I think that the book is also different from the movie. It's definitely younger. Ella Enchanted really reads like middle grade. Ella's kind of annoying in the beginning, I've gotta say. But again, if you want just that kind of cozy, give it a read if you haven't before, if you haven't yet. Howl's Moving Castle and Ella Enchanted. Building off of Howl's Moving Castle, though, is a book that I just read recently, and it is Emily Wilde's Encyclopaedia of Fairies. When I first saw people posting about this, I thought it was like an art book where it was going to be illustrated and it was going to be like a literal encyclopedia of fairies. It's not. So we follow a scholar named Emily Wilde, and she researches fairies, and we're living in a world where the fair folk are known to exist, right? In order to do all of this work, she's constantly traveling and doing like field work and research in order to continue her book. And so we meet her when she arrives at this really remote island. It's described to be like a little bit north of Norway, maybe. She's going to be living in this teeny tiny village that has reported, and I don't want to go too far into it, but once we get all of the characters introduced, it is very Howl's Moving Castle coded. There is a character that is absolutely Howl, Emily is very Sophie-esque if Sophie wasn't clean, because in Howl's Moving Castle, Sophie's whole thing is like she cleans the house. Emily very much does not clean her house. It's just got this kind of sweet romance to it. I will say that like the kind of third act was a little boring-ish to me, but overall I enjoyed it so much more than I thought. It was very cute. The banter, it was very witty, and just how the nature is described. I mean, they're on this like Nordic island that's mostly woods and it's like covered in snow and all this stuff. I enjoyed it a lot. So that is Emily Wilde's Encyclopaedia of Fairies. And then actually the author wrote another book that came out last week, right after Emily Wilde, and it is called The Grace of Wild Things. I immediately bought it because number one, I loved Emily Wilde, and number two, the author described it as being Anne of Green Gables, Anne with an E, but with like fae and witches, and I was like, yup, sign me up. So I read it. I will say this is absolutely middle grade, and so I didn't love it as much as Emily Wilde, but it is everything that she sold it as. We follow a girl who has escaped her orphanage because everybody is scared of her because she has shown that she has some magical powers, and she has heard legends that there is a witch living in the woods. I think this takes place, this does take place on Prince Edward Island. Like she references Halifax, she references Saskatchewan, so it's a Canadian tale. All right, it's very Anne of Green Gables. So she runs off to ask this witch to adopt her and teach her how to be a witch, and the witch is like not into it at all. But our main character Grace is just 100% Anne with an E. So she's just so over the top curious and charming, and drives the witch insane, but the witch also like won't turn her out. We meet a couple other characters. It's, like I said, very, very middle grade. So I got a little bit bored of it, but I think if you're just looking for, if you really loved Anne of Green Gables, but you also love a little bit of fantasy to it, you will love it. It felt very episodic. Like every chapter was very much like, and today this happened. But there is this kind of overarching story. I personally wouldn't reread it or anything like that, but if that sounds good to you, that's exactly what it was. Very adorable. If you're looking to buy a book for a younger person who might enjoy an Anne of Green Gables story, it was really sweet. It was really sweet. After that, finally talking about Legends and Lattes, the book that inspired this video. Legends and Lattes was sold to me as being a feel-good fantasy about an orc that opens a coffee shop. And no one lied. There were no lies told. This was so cozy. I talked about it in my reading wrap-up for January. It follows our main character, who is an orc who had been kind of an assassin, I suppose, and they finish their last job and they are going to retire and go to this new town to open a coffee shop because and someone corrected me, it's not the dwarves, it's the gnomes. Gnomes drink something called coffee, and it seems like nobody outside of the like gnome lands knows about coffee. Our orc had a job over there because she's traveled the world, fell in love with this weird little bean drink, and is like, gotta share the wealth. I'm gonna open my own coffee shop. So the entire book is literally her coming to this town, buying a shitty building, finding a cute little contractor who's gonna help her build it, finding staff, finding a baker. Like, it's so comforting because it's literally just every chapter we overcome this very small task that's literally just about opening a coffee shop. Like, how much are we going to charge to add ice to a coffee? How much are we going to charge to add a little milk? But what if people want entertainment? What if we had a musician come every once in a while? Like, it's so mundane, cozy and comforting, and it just made me feel so good. And as a person who I find so much comfort in just going and sitting in a cafe, it felt like I was going and sitting in a cafe. Like, it was just great. All of the characters were so sweet, and everyone was just really, it felt like just a small community gathering together to support this thing. Like it just and there is a crisis. It's not just like a kind of stagnant, boring plot. Like there is risk, there is, it was just really, really great. It's a cute little sapphic romance. And I said this for my January wrap up. This did not need to be a fantasy. Like there's so little actual magic in it. It's just that everyone happens to be a fantasy creature. Literally, it could have been a story about like a woman moving to a small town in like middle of America. Like it's so funny that it's orcs and elves and stuff. Really highly recommend it. And I believe the author is writing a prequel that should be coming out, I believe, early summer, but I will put that information in the description box. So there's going to be more content as well. And it's really just, oh man, I loved it. You can't even see my candle the whole time. You can't see my cute little cozy candle that I was trying to, oh well. All right, we're gonna have a quick interlude of honorable mentions that I read and I personally didn't enjoy, but perhaps you will. And a book that is compared so often to Legends and Lattes is Can't Spell Treason Without T. And it's on Kindle Unlimited. I read it for this video and I actually didn't finish it. I got to maybe 50%. This is about a royal guard who is just sick of the horrible treatment because the queen is nuts. So she ends up running away with her warlock. What is I forget the exact term, but basically like the most powerful warlock witch magical person in the land, who is her secret girlfriend. Her girlfriend has always been like, listen, if you want to just run away, I would totally do it. And we can just open a bookshop together in the woods and be hermits and it will be great. And the Royal Guard girl is like, all right, let's do it. We follow them kind of on that adventure. And the thing I guess that kind of turned me off about it is just, number one, I didn't really feel any chemistry between any of the characters. But with Legends and Lattes, we start from nothing, right? Like our main character is a total stranger in this village, and so we see the friendships and the romance really begin. But with this, we come into a relationship that has already existed, and now they're just in the rocky part of a relationship where like, oh, we've never lived together. Oh, we've never like spent a long amount of time. It's sort of like a very awkward and tumultuous stage of a relationship for a lot of people, and certainly for these two characters. So it was just, instead of coming into it feeling like really rooting for these characters, we came into it being like, I don't know if they're good for each other. Like, will this work? So it just wasn't as easy and comforting as I thought it was going to be based off of its constant comparison to Legends and Lattes. We essentially just follow these two women who move to this teeny tiny town, buy a barn, and they want to start a bookshop. And there's that. We have the added risk though of like, because the Royal Guard deserted her post, she can be killed for treason, and the wizard is kind of not paying attention to her responsibilities as being the head magical person of the land. You can certainly give it a try. It wasn't bad, it just wasn't what I really wanted. But that is Can't Spell Treason Without T, and I believe it is a duology, if not more than that. So, and then second book that I read and I think fits the category but I didn't personally love is called Witchful Thinking. It gets a lot of points because it takes place exclusively on the Jersey Shore. So I just really loved the imagery from the get-go. I could picture it so well. We follow a witch. I believe she's like 10, almost 20 years out of high school, and she's kind of obsessed with these high school reunions. She hates the fact that she hasn't really accomplished anything. She feels this responsibility to stay in the family home and just kind of keep up the traditions. Like, she feels like it's her responsibility to keep things at the status quo. So even though she has these big dreams, she really hasn't gone after them. So she's always really embarrassed. Oh, there's birds. She's always like really embarrassed when she has to write in for her high school reunion, like, what have I done in these past couple years? Jack shit. So just kind of as a joke for this upcoming high school reunion, she writes a really hilarious update. She also on that day decides to cast a wish spell, and she literally just wishes that her life is more interesting, and unfortunately for her, it comes true. So she just ends up like accidentally throwing herself into all of these situations. Also, her high school sweetheart, but wasn't a sweetheart because they like didn't take the risk to have the relationship, comes home. He's like this hot social media star. He's a mermaid. It's a romance. It's 100% a romance first with the fantasy elements. I thought it was cute for most of it, but I found myself very quickly kind of skimming it. I didn't think that the banter really made sense. It was like it's split POV, so when we were in the characters' heads, they were very different from how they were when they actually spoke out loud to each other. So it was a little bit jarring at first. I did like it though. If you like home decorating, because that's a big part of it, if you like wedding planning, if you like the Jersey Shore in summer, the boardwalk, the fairs, all that stuff. I liked so much of it, but at the end of the day, it didn't knock me off my feet. But the author is already working on the second book, and I have a feeling that she's an author that will just get better with the more that she writes. So I am excited. I will definitely still try more of her work in the future, but that is witchful thinking. Okay, new background. Those are the two honorable mentions, but now back to books that I personally really enjoyed, and this is another one I read last month, and it is The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. This book was so cute. It is about a world in which there are witches. Because of some weird spell, every witch is an orphan. And apparently if witches come together to meet, like have a tea party, let's say, because there's so much magic in one place, that could like set off alarm bells, and they would just be at risk, like of people finding out about them or stuff like that. So basically the rule of being a witch is like, don't see other witches, but also don't get close enough to anyone so that they would find out you're a witch. Basically, don't have any close relationships with anyone ever. So, witches are inherently very lonely people, and our main character is especially very lonely. She has a dog, though, who's great. She's just kind of going through life. She's trying to be a witch on social media. She has like TikTok, and she pretends that she's a witch. That's like that's her thing. That's the only thing that she really does. And then she gets an email from someone who has watched her videos and is like, I don't think you're faking it. I would like you to come tutor our 3 girls who are witches. And she's like, first of all, I can't tell you if I'm a witch or not. Second of all, witches shouldn't ever be together. So how do you have 3 young witches living in the house? And like, no. She ends up going just because she's curious, and we follow her on that journey of like tutoring these girls and meeting their caregivers and stuff like that, learning about why witches are always alone. It was just really cute. There is romance, and I will say the romance is good until it gets smutty, and it's only smutty for like a second, which makes it weird. It's like a very sudden smut scene, and then it's like so if you don't like to read smut, I mean literally it's like hard and fast, blink and you miss it. So you can still absolutely read it and enjoy it, and I just thought it was so heartwarming and cute, and yeah, just please read it, enjoy. Next up is a book that I read last year and I really enjoyed, and it is called Half a Soul. It is part of the Regency Fairy series, but these books are all like standalones that are within the same world, so you don't have to feel pressure about, you know, reading them all at the same time or something like that. I started with Half a Soul, and it is about a girl who gets half of her soul taken by a fairy, and because of it, she kind of just acts differently than everyone else. She kind of lacks a bit of decorum according to like Regency era women, right? How young women should act. She lives with her aunt and cousin who are basically like her mother and her sister, and she accompanies her sister to London to be a part of the whole like season, right, to like find a man. But she's very understanding that like, I'm not finding no man. Like, this is all, I'm just here to help my cousin sister. It's very cute. I have heard it described, and I have described it myself as like fairy Bridgerton, without the smut. And it's just very cute and adorable and like low risk. You pretty much know what's going on the whole time. I thought it was just like the perfect balance of the very Bridgerton Regency era social season vibes mixed with fae and fairy tale magic. And like I said, there are more, so I'm kind of saving them for when I'm in a reading slump and I want to have something of that flavor. There's more to read, but I would definitely recommend. It's very quick, real cute, half a soul. And just a side note, this isn't fantasy related, but if you're still looking for a little bit pre-Regency era, but like of that vein, hilarious little romance, I have to throw in The Queer Principles of Kit Webb. I loved that book so much, and it's so laugh out loud funny. It's a wonderful, weird little enemies to lovers thing going on. Really, really cute. So that doesn't have any technically fantasy elements, but it does have kind of like a Bridgerton vibe to it. So I just wanted to add that in because I really enjoyed that from last year. The Queer Principles of Kit Webb, but mainly half a soul. After that, I got my hands on Tress of the Emerald Sea. This is by Brandon Sanderson. Yes, I have read Mistborn. That's probably like one of my most asked questions on this channel. I have read Mistborn. I have only read Mistborn. I tried to read the second one. The way that Mistborn ends, I felt like I could just kind of leave it at that for a bit, and I just didn't have time to continue it. So I read a little bit, and then life got in the way. So I haven't actually continued the series, but I have read Mistborn, which takes place, it's part of like the Cosmere universe. Sanderson fans are going to be like on my ass about this. Sanderson has created like a couple different worlds, universes, because there are worlds within the universes. But anyway, he has started writing a couple more. This is kind of coming from his giant crowdsourcing thing that he did. I'll put the info right here. He is going to be writing, I believe it's 5 novels, self-published because of the crowdsourcing, or I guess like crowdsource published. And this is the first one. And so Tress of the Emerald Sea, I think that this is a book that like all age, kind of like Disney, hold on, whoa, okay, don't get mad for me comparing Sanderson to Disney, but hear me out. You know how Disney movies, you can watch them as a kid and like them, and then if you read them as an adult, you realize that there are so many jokes that you missed. I feel like this is a book like that, where young people can read it and enjoy it and understand that it's funny, love the story, etc. But then if you were to read it as an adult, there are so many jokes in there. Just like, it's so witty and funny that I think all ages would really love it. We follow a girl, I forget her real name, but her nickname is Tress. She lives on this rock, which is an island. The world that she inhabits has various different kinds of spores which float around in the air, and if they come into contact with water, such as like if you breathe it in and it comes in contact with your spit, they will like explode into different things depending on which kind of spore it is, and you will probably die. For example, where she lives is surrounded by the Emerald Sea, which has these green spores that if they come into contact with water, they become like vines. And so if you get a little bit in your mouth, you're gonna have like vines shooting out of your eyeballs. You don't survive that. So it's just a very dangerous world that she lives in, and for reasons that are explained in the book, the people who live on the rock are not allowed to leave the rock, and she's very happy to live there for the rest of her life. She's got this like cute boy that she likes, but unfortunately her cute boy leaves the rock, and we soon learn that cute boy needs rescuing. And so the whole book is really her on this adventure to rescue her damsel in distress. It was very cute. It was very funny. I think that Sanderson is just so, The way that he writes, his brain, I really love his brain. It's written through the eyes of a third party character. Our narrator is very kind of breaking that fourth wall of talking directly to us and telling us a story that he's reflecting on. So he's able to be like, and you know, later in the book, this is going to happen, but I don't want to spoil anything. So just keep that in mind. You know, it feels like someone is just sitting you down and telling you this wonderful story. Yeah, it was just so witty and so fun. And there are a ton of connections to his other books, but I don't think you need to read them. As someone who loves that universe, I think that people would really, really love it. But even if you don't know that background, you would still enjoy this book. I think that you can dive into this if you've never read Sanderson before. I 100% believe you could still enjoy this story. Tress of the Emerald Sea, really enjoyed, had a great time, excited for more of his work. And I just need to say, I loved Mistborn. I loved like the magic system. So I simply didn't continue his work because I didn't have time. Little disclaimer there. So Tress of the Emerald Sea. After that, I want to slide in a little collection of stories. This is The Language of Thorns by Leigh Bardugo. This is a collection of short fairy tales. It is illustrated. I have family photos in here, and I have Jesper. Has illustrations. When I say cozy, they do tend to go a little bit on the like Grimm Brothers side of fairy tales. It specifically says midnight tales and dangerous magic, but I still think that just the act of reading them, it felt like I was a kid again reading a book of fairy tales. And it was great to have new ones, but they are written in that very fairy tale formula where it almost felt like I had read them before. There's this nostalgia to it, but it was also all new. And I just loved her writing in this, her word choices, her imagery. It was fantastic. So this is a collection of 6 illustrated stories. And if you're looking for something along these lines, I highly recommend The Language of Thorns. The final 3 books I want to talk about are ones that are cozy, but like also maybe not cozy. So if you wanted just like effortless good vibes, happy times, I would say all of the ones previously are that. The ones after, they've got like not cozy things encapsulated in it. That's my disclaimer. These are like the least cozy of the cozy fantasy books. Okay. Starting off with a book that I read literally 2 days ago, and it is called This Poison Heart. It is about a girl who has these powers related to plants. She can make plants grow. She doesn't really have control over her powers. She one day gets notified that her birth family, she's adopted, her mom's run a flower shop in Brooklyn that she works at, and she finds out that her birth family, her aunt, her birth mother's sister, has died and left this huge family house up in upstate New York to her. They are having trouble with rent prices, gentrification, and they're kind of like, we could do with having a nice big house. Like, let's just go up and see it. So they go up and they start looking at this house, and we uncover a lot of mysteries, not only about her birth family, but about this small town, about our main girl's powers. It was super cozy just because I thought that the family was so great. Like the moms and the daughter, their banter is so good. I just really loved those 3 main characters. And so there is that like just very cozy element, especially describing her magic and you know, plants are always kind of leaning towards her and stuff like that. So that's why I say it's really cozy. But then once we get into kind of unraveling these mystery threads, it gets a little darker. It gets a little haunted housey. There's very much like secret garden vibes to the house. It's also closely tied to Greek mythology. So I think that if you love Greek mythology, you will adore this book. I especially think the second book is going to go into it more. I haven't read it yet. This is a series. But yeah, I really enjoyed it and I am excited to continue the series. That is This Poison Heart. Oh my god, okay, I lied. So I said that there were only 3 left. I forgot one. A book that I will never stop talking about because I love it so much, I'm going to be real quick, is The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea, A Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea. So cute. If you want Studio Ghibli vibes with just this incredible imagery of this underwater spirit realm, can't talk about it enough. It's great. It is based off of different Korean folk tales. It is about a girl who lives in a village by the sea, and in order to appease the sea god, they like sacrifice young girls, just throw them in the ocean in order to be like the sea god's wife. And usually then the sea is like calm and there aren't like any storms or anything. But then he apparently gets tired of his wife and they have to send another one because he starts destroying their town and their ships. Our girl, for reasons we learn about, finds herself in the sea god's realm, and it's just great. And I've talked your ear off about it enough. That's my piece. But The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea is so good. Okay, so back to my like cozy but not super cozy. I have to give a shout out to Afar Wilder Magic. I read this last year and I really enjoyed it. But there are just elements to it that I think make it not 100% cozy. We follow a girl who lives with her mother, who is an alchemist. Her mother has been missing. She constantly goes on business trips, but she's been missing for a really long time. So we just have our girl holding down the house. And then we also follow a boy who is trying to become an alchemist, and he has been an apprentice for all these different people and it just hasn't worked out. So this girl's mom is sort of his last chance. So he shows up at the cottage to be like, train me. And the girl is like, leave. So they very immediately start this rocky relationship. The girl wants nothing more than to win back her mother's love. Her mom is pretty abusive and just isn't like a good mother. Her daughter really thinks like if she can somehow prove herself as worthy of her mother's love and attention, that will solve everything. And obviously the boy is also like, I need to prove myself as a human being, you know, like I want to be a good apprentice. I eventually want to be a politician. I need to support my family back home. We need to do something. And lucky for the two of them, there's a competition going on where there's this mythical creature in the woods, and if you can catch it, you become like a celebrated hero, but you have to do it in teams. And they kind of begrudgingly decide to work together to catch this thing and reap the benefits. I really enjoyed it. There's a lot of commentary on religious minorities. The girl in particular, it references a lot of like Judaism and Catholicism. I thought that those veins were really interesting to the story. It can get kind of dark, and there is emotional abuse throughout, so that's why I'm saying it's not like soups cozy. There were like elements of it that I wish we went more into detail. So it wasn't a perfect book, but I did really enjoy it, and I thought that the characters were great. So that is A Far Wilder Magic. And finally, I can't believe I'm talking about these books. Finally, I read, where did I even see this? I don't remember who posted about it, but I saw it on Bookstagram, so if you believe that you were guilty of this, let me know. But I picked up That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon. It's part of a series. All of the book titles are like that. Like The Time That I Accidentally Yeeted a Goblin. I was like, all right, they're insane. This book was so funny. I had such a good time reading it, and then what did I say? 60% of the way through, it was just like smut city. I guess I should have expected it. I don't know. But anyway, we follow a girl who lives in this small town. They venerate this one particular goddess who keeps the demons at bay. They're like locked up somewhere as long as we keep worshiping this god. And this girl accidentally meets a demon, and they go on kind of this adventure. We learn more about the world. We learn, I don't want to spoil it, but it's just a lot of like hot demon going on an adventure with him. It's just so stupid. Once it got smutty, I was sort of like, I want to get off of this ride, but that's just me personally. It was hilarious. So if you're into like sexy demon funny books, this absolutely did it. And I had I had a good time. I had a good time with it. That's where I want to end this video. Going from like Howl's Moving Castle to like demon smut. I don't know what went wrong, but that's the video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you want to leave any recommendations down below, please let me know. Yeah, I hope you're doing well. I will actually be in Europe next week. If you would like to see those vlogs, I have a main channel that I always link down below, but in case I'm missing for like a week, I'm simply traveling and I just didn't have time. So hopefully not. Hopefully I will be able to film, but anyway, that's what's going on in my life. I hope you guys are all doing really well. I'm so excited for spring to come. I cannot wait. Yeah, that's all I wanted to say. So thank you as always for being here. And again, if you want to join our book club, down below, look for the Discord. I don't know why I arranged that sentence that way. Anyway, I'm losing my mind and my throat, my voice is going. So I will catch you guys next time. Love always.